Hey guys, what is up? My name is Dave, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Theater of Blood feedback tweaks that Jagex actually proposed. Now, speaking from personal experience, I'm going to show you guys in the background right now. I know I mentioned this at the end of the last video, and you guys haven't seen this week's current videos. This will be a slight spoiler. Yes, I have gotten a little bit involved with the Theater of Blood. Don't worry, there are no real spoilers in this video besides the fact that I have some KC, so don't worry about that very much. But some of these changes I think are really important for people like me, and I would like to get my viewpoint on them, so it's going to be a bit of a discussion about the dev blog post, and also just a bit of a ramble on certain topics, because I feel very strongly about some of the stuff that is proposed here. The first thing that is mentioned is that they would like to improve the spectating experience for people who die throughout the raid, and people who are just trying to spectate the raid as a whole. Now, I think this is actually really, really important, because this stuff is kind of frustrating as a streamer. If I die or I make a mistake and end up dead, then people who are watching my stream are kind of just sat there with a really shitty angle of the fight, and that's just kind of unfortunate. So that's a really minor one. Now this one really, really hits home for me. So the way chests work right now, basically you get 2 resupplies throughout the raid, after the second boss and after the 4th boss. Those resupplies are vital to completion of the raid at the current point in time. It's very, very difficult to be able to complete it if you get unlucky on chests. And speaking from an Iron Man's perspective, sometimes you can get really, really unlucky on those chests and get no brews and no restores. On top of that, sometimes it gives you prayer potions, which prayer potions don't exactly couple up very well with brews, because obviously when you have brews, you want to be able to restore your stats back up. It helps a lot to be able to do that. However, sometimes you just get staminas and prayer potions, and although getting a little bit of stamina here and there is great, it isn't exactly what you are really looking for. So as you can see, even in my inventory right now, you can actually see I have pretty much no brews and very, very few restores. Now later on in this clip, I don't think this clip's going to be long enough for the whole video, so you'll probably see some other content of other bosses throughout raids too. You can see right here, I have a couple brews dropped, so I actually did pretty well on getting some brews or maintaining my supplies throughout this raid. However, I did not get restores. I got brews and prayer potions. So I only came into this room with 3 restores, which isn't exactly a whole lot and is not ideal. Now I'm going to put the change back on the screen because this is really important. Basically, what they're going to be doing to change this is you get points based on the damage you do, or basically how helpful you are in the raid, and you get to actually choose your supplies. Now, this is helpful to mains, but like I said, it's a really crucial thing to Iron Men, because you shouldn't have to leave or not be able to complete a raid due to just purely RNG. That's really unfortunate. Obviously, RuneScape is all about RNG, but if you have the skill, there are still AoE damages you can avoid. It's like not all damage in raids 2 is avoidable. So you shouldn't be getting screwed over by that. Now, there's been a lot of talk that some people might abuse this in order to try and farm up stamina potions or restores, and I really don't think that'll be an issue, because even if you're doing things at record time, if it's going to take you 5 minutes to get through the first 2 bosses, and it doesn't really seem like something that's going to be done when obtaining the potions normally will be way faster. However, I think this will be a huge and very, very helpful thing to be introduced into Raids 2. It'll make it a lot more forgiving for people. Now, this one is a lot more minor. Basically, they're just adding a clan chat channel to help you find people. Now, I can tell you right now, what you're probably going to see in the clan chat channel is this. And I'm not in a PVM clan. For obvious reasons, I'm an Iron Man. But even if I was to be in a clan like Solitary, I don't really like seeing things like that, and I'm sure that can be frustrating for people who are actually trying to get into it and trying to learn. So seeing those things can be kind of frustrating. Alright, now the thing you're seeing on your screen right now is huge. I don't expect you guys to read all that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that out and sum it up for you guys a little bit. Feel free to pause if you want to read it. Alright, now this one really speaks to me, because basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to make Theater of Blood more accessible. Now, speaking from personal experience, finding 5 people for a team can actually be quite challenging at times. Now, to those of you who aren't involved in Theater of Blood, you might be thinking, oh, it's really easy, no problems with it whatsoever, just find 4 of your friends and jump right in there. Now, that doesn't always work out very well, because sometimes all of your friends aren't on at once, or even if you're in a PVM clan, you have the issue, like I said before, where people will expect you to already have KC, or they'll expect you to have, all this experience. It's like trying to get into an entry-level job fresh out of college that requires 5 years of experience. Now, I'm sure with time that'll probably be made easier. There will be, I'm sure, within even a month, clans that just sell leeches or teach people, just like the We Do Raids CC and Discord that exists now. However, those things are a little bit further down the line, and even then, finding 5 people can be kind of difficult. Sometimes you just don't have that many other people on. What they're doing with this is they're making it very similar to Chambers of Xeric, where basically the boss mechanics, HP, damage, and everything can actually be scaled down to groups of 3 and 4 as well. I don't think anything less than that would really work out very well, but this is actually really cool, and it really speaks to me personally, because before, actually today is when these clips are from, I was having such a hard time getting teams and such a hard time even attempting to clear it because, you know, after an hour somebody had to go. And it just doesn't work the same way as Chambers of Xeric, I guess, in that sense, because, you know, with Chambers of Xeric, you find 3 people, you're pretty much good. You can even do it in a duo and have no issues. And although this is endgame content, I don't think that they should be isolating people so much to the point where people feel like they'll just never be able to do it because they'll never have those friends, or never have high enough KC to fit in with these top-tier PVM clans that are, you know, consistently running through this content. So, TLDR, 3-man teams, 3-man scaling, and I think this is hands down the biggest and most important part of the update. And these updates, by the way, will be happening on the 21st of June. So unfortunately, they won't be in this week's update. They need to have time to test them, but they will be in next week's update, which I think is huge and just incredibly important. Alright, so now we can get into some actual room changes. So the first one is the 3rd room, the Nilacas, I'm not sure how people are saying it. Most people just call it the spider or crab room. Basically what they're doing is they're removing some of the early boring parts of it, but in order to subsidize that, they're actually lowering the total HP slightly and making the last boss that pops out after you're done with it slightly more difficult. So this next thing is much more of a minor one. It's basically just saying they're adding like leaderboards and things at the end of the raid that lets you know who did the best and who is the MVP for that, and you know what the fastest raid times are and all that stuff. So that's a really minor one. I don't think that's all that important. So this is another one I'm really excited to see. They're making some changes to Sotexeg, which is the 4th boss in the Theater of Blood. It is like the Dark Beast boss, and what happens, basically a TLDR of what it does, is it shoots orbs at you, which you have to pray accordingly, range or mage, and sometimes you get several orbs that come at you in the same tick, which you can't pray against, and when you pray incorrectly against a range one, it will knock your prayer off and also deal a crap ton of damage to you. So there's potential of just being instantly KO'd for something that you can't actually prevent whatsoever. So they're actually changing this slightly. They didn't really mention how specifically, but they're changing it slightly to make it more fair so that you only die to intended mechanics, not to just everything stacking up at once and becoming completely unavoidable. So the next thing that they are actually changing is, once again with Sotexeg, the same boss, the big orb attack that requires everybody to stack up actually changes its travel time based on how close you are to the boss. So if you are in my situation where you would like to blowpipe or melee because you don't have a T-bow, it comes at you very quickly, which doesn't really give you enough reaction time to be able to get to your team, and it usually leads to some really unfortunate deaths, which also, once again, hurts supplies, which is quite frustrating. So what they're actually doing is changing it so that no matter where you are standing, no matter how close or how far away you are, it will have a similar travel time, or will at least give you a better ability to coordinate with your team and stack up, which I think is really nice. It's really important so that people who don't have T-bows can actually manage to get through it, because it's actually made me resort to using an armor crossbow, which I don't feel like is really more DPS than the blowpipe, but I can stand further away with it, so I don't die. So this next one is once again kind of a minor change, but basically sometimes you can misclick through doors, and if you start a room without your entire team being in the room, it actually forces the people who aren't in there to get kicked out. It gets forced to resign from the raid. So they're just making it so it's less likely for you to misclick through doors and whatnot. So this one basically is just saying certain attacks or certain boss transitions require you to pay a lot of attention, and sometimes it's hard to see those things, so they're going to be highlighting things in different colors just to make it more easy to recognize. I guess the only situation I can actually think of is for the 5th boss, Zarpus, when it enters its final phase. I don't really know of any other particular situation where this would be incredibly useful that I'm aware of, unless they decide to like add messages whenever the bloat goes down or anything. But other than that, I mean, I guess this will be slightly helpful. It's not really that big of a change. So as has been commonly asked and already adjusted, the last big change to the Theater of Blood mechanics itself will be on the Bloat, which is the second boss. Basically, when a hand falls, it can stun you, and it does not only a lot of damage, but can also cause you to die and potentially wipe your entire team, depending on how poorly timed the stun is. So these things are basically unavoidable because you're trying to dodge the boss, and you're not necessarily always paying attention to where you're stepping. Not only that, but sometimes you have to walk in a particular path and they will always hit you, and it's just you'll be clicking a certain way, you'll walk into it because they fall too quickly. There's a lot of reasons why it can be kind of frustrating. Now this change is making it so that you have a better chance of avoiding them by basically just increasing the time that they're going to be falling, or increasing the time that the shadow is on the ground, making it more similar to other things like I would imagine the gargoyle boss mechanic and the crystals at Ulm. I would imagine it's going to be a similar time duration to that, which will be really nice. Although I really don't think it'll solve the problem in full. I think a lot of people kind of overreact to that one, but that's just a personal opinion, I guess. Now there's one more thing that people will find very, very important to the changes in Raids 2. You're damn right we saved the best for last. No, this one's kind of irrelevant, but I have seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about how the Grazi Rapier animation is a little bit odd, so that one's going to be changed slightly. Once again, really minor thing, but I guess this will probably appease some people since the price of the Rapier is going down. I do expect it to be used by more people in the near future. And that is all I actually have for you guys. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. I try not to put too much of my opinion in here, but just spoke from some personal experience, I guess, so you guys would get a little bit of a glimpse as to why some of these things can be frustrating or should be changed. And I overall love the Theater of Blood. I have to say, good job, Jagex, and just the old school team in general. This has been a fantastic piece of content. And I have seen a lot of people saying that the items seem too common, but personally I have to say they seem about as common as if you were to be doing a consistent 5-man team in Chambers of Xeric. There's just less items, so it seems like they're coming to the game a little bit faster because there are less of them to go around. Overall, I think it's a fantastic update. I think that the theater, after some minor changes, will be much more accessible to more players, and just overall will probably never lose its luster. I expect people to be doing this for a long time because there are a lot of nice items here, and it's just kind of fun to do when you actually have a consistent team of people to do it with. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out all of the links in the description. If you'd like to support me, feel free to consider doing so on Twitch, Patreon, or becoming a YouTube sponsor. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys on Sunday for another Iron Completionist video. Also, as a side note to people who are going to ask, I didn't do a tips and tricks video this week because I really just wasn't feeling it. I don't want to half-ass a video like that. Those videos can help a lot of people, so I don't want to half-ass it. But either way, if you have an idea you want me to do for tips and tricks, feel free to leave that down below. Out for real this time. Peace.